This is a mousetrap camera. It's the type of camera used at the very beginning of photography, and famously including the making of the first negative, The Lattice Window, by William Henry Fox Talbot in August 1835. Now, these cameras were given that name by his wife, partially because of their appearance, and partially due to Talbot leaving them around the house for long exposure times, often up to several hours. He was experimenting with 11 of these cameras using a basic lens which was held in with a brass ring and made some of the first photographic images. And that idea, a box, a lens and time, is where photography really begins. Now this is the Alfie BOXX. Now I've been lent this prototype version by Dave, the brain behind Alfie Cameras, to test out for a few days. Dave has been using a reversal process with great results, and I'm instead trying normal chemistry with it, but using both Harman Positive Paper to make positives and then normal black and white paper to make negatives. The box follows that same philosophy and very similar design to what Fox Talbot used. So a stripped back box camera using 6x9 paper, and this asks you to slow down, to think more carefully about what you're doing, as a really great way to fully understand how we use light to make an image. So the Alfie BOXX is a simple wooden camera design. You've got a lens that is focusable at the front, a lens cap, which is really important because this is also your shutter for the camera. So your exposure time is from when the cap comes off, letting light in, to when the cap's put back on. This is designed for you working with paper, is working with very long exposure times. Now to control that, it also comes with a load of these 3D printed little apertures. I'll show that to the other camera there we go. And these slot into the front of the lens like so. There we go. Now on the back of the camera we have a focusing screen, so a ground glass focusing screen, very similar to what you would find on a large format camera. So if you're used to working with plate cameras, this will feel very at home for you, except it's all shrunk down. So to load the camera, you just pull that back, drop the film holder, which I'll talk about in a moment, in the back. Make sure the lens is covered, pull out dark slide, and then start your exposure. Now, although Alfie cameras are doing this with the idea of working on photographic paper, I can't see why it also wouldn't work with tin type processes, as long as the tin is thin. So this won't work for glass plates without some quite heavy adaptations to the film holders, but tin types, it should work as long as the metal is very, very thin. And the reason for that is in the film holders. Now these are all in a prototype state at the moment, and will be refined a little bit from what I understand during the Kickstarter. So these have a few sections to them. There we go. So the bottom of this is actually just a little developing tray. We have this labyrinth here for the chemistry to go through when it's closed, and that's how we get the developer in there to develop it. The inside the film holder is this little bevel. Now at the moment this is in two parts. That will be one piece when production happens, and that holds your paper flat in there, and then it's all held securely with magnets. Now that's the reason that if you've got something in here which is thicker than paper, such as glass, it will push these sections apart. They won't be able to go down for the magnetic join, and it would not be light tight. So things like wet plate collodion, no. Tin type, maybe. I look forward to seeing other people's experimentation with that. So when you've done your exposure, that's out, and then you slide it back in the other way around so you can see white and black sides, which side has been exposed, which side hasn't. That also opens up the opportunity to pour your chemistry in. So this will fit up to about 20 milliliters of chemistry in here, but you don't need that much. About 10 to 15 milliliters is a better amount, mainly because if it's too full, you're going to struggle to get that chemistry to pour out through the labyrinth. And I had a conversation this morning with Dave, the guy who designed this camera, and he strongly advises that before starting to use the camera, that you will practice with this open so you can see how the chemistry flows in, and then also with it closed with the dark side out so you can see how the chemistry flows over the paper, so you get a real sense of which direction you need to pour it to get all that chemistry out smoothly for changing between your developer, stop and fix, or using the processes that he's been trying. There is also this. Now this is just in a prototype, and this is the pinhole lens panel. The aperture is a f200, so it's quite easy to work out your exposure times with paper using a handheld light meter. It's basically adding 4 stops roughly. I've been underexposing a little bit with this to compensate for the contrasty paper I've been using and the bright light, but it works quite well. What's really clever is this switch. I will pop that switch, and if I pop that switch, it switches from the pinhole to a open aperture. Now this is far too blurry to use, and it's far too much light in. You will not get an image using a aperture this size in a pinhole camera. The reason it's there is much more clever, and it is to help you with getting your composition right before switching to your pinhole, closing the shutter, and then doing your exposure. The shutter also has a magnet in it to make sure that it closes nice and sharp and stays closed, it doesn't step open, which is a really nice touch. To change the lens, just pop the little switch up at the top, the lens comes off, and then you clip the other one into place. There is another lens in development as well, so there'll be two lenses plus the pinhole available in the kits. And for travel, the lens fits in there in reverse, making it very compact. So one issue I've had with testing out the Alfie BOXX has been using the Harman Positive Paper. Now, this is a paper I've used a bunch of times with 4x5 cameras, and using the self-developing BOXX by Jagley. For some reason, I've been struggling here, and I think it is I don't have a mechanical shutter. My shutter is my hand. And all the issues with exposure have been coming out here. Now, initially, I thought this was just me, it was user error. The more I've experimented, it seems to be that this paper reacts to light very differently to negative. And talking with Dave a couple of days ago, it appears that there seems to be some question around UV light and strengths of UV light. So when I've been testing with this paper, it has been very, very bright. It's been that sort of late April, sudden summer couple of weeks that we had, which was lovely. And everything was overexposing by about 4 stops. So what I've got here is some experiments of a still life where I've exposed it at correct exposure and then started stopping it down and repeating the experiment to find the correct exposure. This is not an issue I've had with positive paper. It is not an issue that Dave or the 120ist have had when they've been testing out the camera using a reversal process using normal darkroom paper either. So it does seem to be a very specific thing to positive paper. I have no idea if there's anyone watching this who works at Harman or Ilford who can maybe shed some light on this. I really would love to know a bit more about the exposure differences between positive and negative paper in bright conditions. And yeah, so there we go. So that's the only issue I've had. But when I've gone back to using paper negatives and then converting those paper negatives in the darkroom to positives, I've been more than happy with the results I've got. It's a really simple design. It's beautifully designed. The wood looks lovely, as does the aluminium plates. It all looks really, really smart. Tripod mounting points on both sides, so you have landscape orientation and portrait orientation. And yes, it's a really fun camera. It does have its frustrations. There is a learning curve to it. But overall, I really enjoyed playing with it. The Kickstarter for the Alfie BOXX starts on the 19th of May, and there is a VIP access until then available from alfiecameras.com, where you can secure a limited edition version of the pinhole lens for this, as well as being first in line for early bird prices in the Kickstarter.